with Algebra 2.4. So continuing with inequalities, kind of like we did with equations, we started off with simple equations, then multi-step equations, equation with the variable on each side. So when you're solving multi-step inequalities, it's still using inverse operations on the variable. You have to remember the golden rule whenever you're solving inequalities. If you multiply or divide by a negative, both sides each time, then you have to reverse or switch inequality. So again, similar with equations, you have to see what's being done to the variable. X here, x is first being multiplied by 3, then you're subtracting 2. But now it's less than 10. So the last thing that's being done to the variable on the left side is you're subtracting 2. So the first inverse or opposite operation is adding 2 to each side. When you're adding or subtracting, you don't even need to worry about trying to remember the golden rule. If you're adding or subtracting, you would never reverse the inequality. So we're left with 3x on the left side, still less than 10 plus 2, 12. The last thing that's being done to the variable here is you're multiplying by 3, and the 3 is positive, so you divide each side by 3. That's not dividing by a negative, so you keep the inequality facing the same way. X is less than, and then 12 divided by 3 is 4. So now we can make our graph as well. I'll go by 2's on my number line. X is just less than 4. So on 4 on my number line, I'll make an open circle since 4 is not included, and then fill in everything to the left of that. The variable is on the left here. Inequality tells you which way your arrow should be on the graph. So on my next example here, I have the inequality 2 plus b divided by 3 is less than or equal to 3. So the first inverse operation is getting rid of the 2. 2 is being added to b divided by 3. So subtract 2 from each side of the inequality. That is not multiplying or dividing by a negative. So we're left with b over or divided by a negative 3 is less than or equal to 3 minus 2 is 1. Now we're left with b divided by a negative 3. So the correct inverse operation would be to multiply each side by a negative 3. And then a little light bulb should go off in your head. You're multiplying each side by negative 3. So you have to use the golden rule. The inequality would reverse or flip. So instead of less than or equal to, now it's greater than or equal to. These negative 3's would cancel each other out on the left side. We're left with b. 1 times negative 3 on the right is negative 3. Now we can graph that. But again, I specifically had to use the golden rule and reverse the inequality because we did multiply both sides by a negative. Since b is greater than or equal to negative 3, you want to fill in circle at negative 3. And then everything that's greater than or equal to would be to the right, or since the variable is on the left in my solution, the inequality points to which way your arrow should be.